The water was perfectly still when they found her. Face down, pale arms floating just beneath the surface, her long dark hair fanning out like ink in crystal clear blue. The luxury pool on the 42nd floor of the Burj Al Noor Hotel glowed under soft amber lighting, empty except for one body that shouldn't have been there. It was 4:47 a.m. on November 3rd, 2024. The city of Dubai stretched below in silent, glittering rows. And 27-year-old Rebecca Torres, Miami model, aspiring influencer, and daughter of a retired schoolteacher, was dead. No screams. No witnesses. No struggle anyone could see. Just a woman who had flown halfway across the world for what she called the opportunity of a lifetime, now floating in water that reflected nothing but her final, silent moment. When hotel security pulled her out, her phone was still on a lounge chair nearby, unlocked, the last message thread still open. It was from a contact saved only as S. The final text, sent at 3:58 a.m., read, "I trusted you. Why would you lie to me? Welcome to True Crime Dossier. Thank you to our incredible viewers and subscribers for your continued support. What you're about to hear is a story about ambition, deception, power, and the deadly consequences when desperation meets control. This is the true story of Rebecca Torres, the Miami model who thought one trip could change her life. She was right, but not in the way she imagined. Rebecca Torres grew up in a small house in Hialeah, a working-class neighborhood just outside Miami. The kind of place where everyone knows your business, where quinceañeras are planned for years, and where dreams are big but money is tight. Her mother, Rosa Torres, worked as an elementary school teacher for 28 years. Her father, Miguel, passed away when Rebecca was 9, a heart attack that came sudden and cruel, leaving Rosa to raise 2 daughters on a teacher's salary and whatever side jobs she could pick up on weekends. Rebecca was the younger of the two. Her older sister, Camila, went the safe route, nursing school, steady job, married at 24 to a guy who worked in IT. Boring, Rebecca used to say. Predictable. Rebecca wanted something else. Even as a kid, she stood out. Tall for her age, with deep brown eyes, olive skin, and a natural grace that made people stop and look twice. In middle school, she'd spend hours in front of the mirror practicing poses she saw in magazines. Rosa would find her daughter's bedroom littered with torn-out pages from Vogue, Elle, and Cosmopolitan. Images of women in designer clothes, stepping out of black cars, walking red carpets. "Mommy, one day that's going to be me," Rebecca told her mother when she was 14. Rosa smiled, kissed her forehead, and said what every cautious mother says. "Focus on school first, Mija." But Rebecca's focus was already somewhere else. By high school, she was doing small local shoots, quinceañera promotions, boutique lookbooks, small fashion shows. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that paid real money. But it fed something inside her. The camera loved her, and she loved being seen. She graduated in 2015 with decent grades and no clear plan. College didn't excite her. A 9-to-5 felt like a trap. So she did what thousands of young women do when they're beautiful, ambitious, and desperately want a shortcut to success. She moved to Miami Beach and tried to make it as a model. At first, it felt possible. She signed with a small agency that promised her exposure. She did shoots for swimsuit brands, attended casting calls, posed for Instagram photographers who paid her in content instead of cash. Her follower count grew slowly 5,000, then 10,000, then 15,000. Enough to feel like she was building something. Not enough to pay rent. She worked side jobs to survive. Bottle service at clubs. Retail at a high-end boutique in Wynwood. Occasional promotional gigs where she'd stand at events in tight dresses, smile, hand out flyers, and pretend she wasn't exhausted. Her Instagram became her portfolio. Every post was carefully curated. Beach shots at golden hour, rooftop selfies with the Miami skyline behind her, candid laughs that took 20 tries to get right. The captions were always aspirational. Living my dreams. Blessed and grateful. Trust the process. But behind the perfectly filtered photos, Rebecca was struggling. Her agency dropped her after a year, saying she didn't have the right look for high-fashion campaigns. Translation: she was beautiful, but not tall enough, not thin enough, not enough in the way the industry demanded. She tried freelancing. She reached out to photographers, brands, influencers. Some responded. Most didn't. The ones who did often wanted to collaborate. Code for we won't pay you, but think of the exposure. By 2022, at 25 years old, Rebecca was stuck. Not famous. Not broke, but close. Living in a cramped apartment with 2 roommates, posting smiling photos while her bank account hovered just above overdraft. Her mother called every Sunday. "Rebecca, maybe it's time to think about something more stable," Rosa would say gently. "Camila says the hospital is hiring. You could do administrative work. Good benefits." Rebecca would sigh, promise to think about it, and hang up feeling like a failure. She didn't want benefits. She wanted what she'd been chasing since she was a teenager. To be someone people recognized, someone who didn't have to worry about rent, someone whose life looked as good as the one she pretended to have online. And then, in late September 2024, she got a message that felt like the universe finally answering her prayers. The DM came through Instagram on a Wednesday afternoon. Rebecca was at her apartment, scrolling through job postings and trying not to panic about the fact that her portion of rent was due in 5 days and she was $400 short. Her phone buzzed. A new message request. The account was private, but the profile picture showed a sleek logo, gold Arabic calligraphy against black. The username was at Luxury Lifestyle DXB. The message was short and professional. "Hello, Rebecca. We represent a private client in Dubai who is looking for models for an exclusive campaign. Your portfolio caught our attention. If you're interested in discussing terms, please let us know. Compensation is very competitive. All travel and accommodations covered." Rebecca stared at the message for a full 30 seconds. Dubai. She'd seen the posts, models on yachts, rooftop pools overlooking skyscrapers, designer shopping bags, champagne brunches. It was a world she'd only ever watched from the outside, double-tapping photos and wondering what it felt like to live like that even for a weekend. She clicked on the account. It had 12,000 followers. The posts were polished, luxury cars, hotel suites, aerial shots of Dubai's skyline. Everything looked legitimate. Professional. Ray. L. Her heart was racing. She replied immediately. "Hi. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'd love to hear more about the opportunity." The response came within minutes. "Wonderful. Our client prefers to keep things discreet. This is a private campaign for his personal brand. We're looking for someone who is professional, confident, and comfortable in high-end settings. The shoot would take place over 4 days in Dubai. All expenses paid, flights, 5-star accommodations, meals, transportation. Payment is $15,000 upon completion." Rebecca read it twice. Then a third time. $15,000. For 4 days of work. She felt her chest tighten with something between excitement and disbelief. That was more money than she'd made in the last 6 months combined. That was rent for half a year. That was breathing room. That was proof that she wasn't wasting her time, that she was good enough, that someone out there saw her value. She typed back quickly. "That sounds amazing. What would the campaign involve? And when would you need me?" The reply was fast. "The campaign is for lifestyle content, photos and short videos for our clients' private social media and promotional use. Very elegant. Nothing explicit. Our client values class and sophistication. We would need you to travel within 2 weeks. November 1st to November 4th. Does that work for your schedule?" Rebecca didn't even have to check her calendar. She had nothing booked. Nothing even close. "Yes, that works perfectly." "Excellent. We'll send you a contract and travel details within 24 hours. Please provide your full name, passport information, and preferred email address." Rebecca hesitated for half a second. Sending passport info to someone she'd never met felt slightly risky. But this was how things worked in the industry, right? Agencies, casting directors, clients, they all needed documentation. And the account looked real. The opportunity felt real. She told herself she was being smart, not reckless. She sent her information. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, imagining herself walking through Dubai's glittering streets, posting photos that would make every girl who ever doubted her sit up and take notice. She pictured the $15,000 hitting her account. Pictured calling her mom and saying, See, Mommy? I told you it would work out. The next morning, the contract arrived. It was sent via email from an address that matched the Instagram account, info@luxurylafestal.com. The PDF looked official. Letterhead. Legal language. Payment terms. A confidentiality clause that said she couldn't publicly discuss the client's identity or share behind-the-scenes content without approval. Rebecca skimmed it. She didn't have a lawyer. She didn't know anyone who did. She told herself that if it was a scam, they wouldn't have sent a contract. Scammers didn't do paperwork. She signed it electronically and sent it back. 2 days later, her flight confirmation arrived. Business class. Miami to Dubai. Departing October 31st, arriving November 1st. A car would meet her at the airport. A suite was reserved at the Burj Al Noor, one of Dubai's most exclusive hotels. Rebecca screenshotted everything and sent it to her best friend, Vanessa. I'm going to Dubai. Vanessa called immediately. Wait, what? For real? For real. A client reached out. $15,000 For 4 days. Everything paid for. I leave next week. There was a pause on the other end. Becca, who's the client? It's private. They have a confidentiality thing. But it's legit, I promise. They sent contracts, flight info, everything. Another pause. Just be careful, okay? That's a lot of money. Make sure someone knows where you are. Rebecca laughed it off. I'll be fine. It's Dubai, not some random place. And I'll text you every day. I promise. Vanessa didn't sound convinced, but she let it go. Rebecca spent the next week preparing. She bought new outfits, elegant dresses, sleek swimsuits, heels she could barely afford but told herself were an investment. She got her hair done, her nails done, practiced poses in her mirror. On October 30th, the night before her flight, Rosa called. Mija, are you sure about this trip? Rebecca could hear the worry in her mother's voice. The same worry that had been there her whole life. Worry wrapped in love, caution dressed as care. Mommy, I'm sure. This is a good opportunity. I'll be safe. I'll call you when I land. Just promise me you'll be smart. If something feels wrong, you leave. You hear me? I promise. That night, Rebecca posted a photo on Instagram. Her at the airport, suitcase in hand, caption reading. Dubai, here I come. Sometimes you have to take risks to get where you're meant to be. The post got 300 likes in an hour. At 11:45 p.m. on October 31st, 2024, Rebecca Torres boarded Emirates Flight 213 to Dubai. She was smiling, excited, hopeful. She had no idea she would be dead within 72 hours. If you're still with us, take a second to hit that like button. This story only gets heavier from here, and your engagement helps us keep bringing you cases like this, told with the depth and care they deserve. Don't look away yet. We're just getting started. While Rebecca Torres was packing her suitcase in Miami, 6,800 miles away in Dubai, a man named Sheikh Samir Al-Qassimi was preparing for her arrival. To understand what happened in that hotel suite, you have to understand who Samir was, not the polished version he showed the world, but the man underneath. Samir was 38 years old, heir to a shipping and real estate empire worth an estimated $400 million. The second son of a prominent Emirati family with roots that traced back generations, to a time before oil money reshaped the Gulf into a playground for the ultra-wealthy. His older brother, Faisal, was the responsible one, the one who attended business meetings, managed properties, sat on boards, married young to a woman from another. Powerful family, and produced 3 children who would carry the Al-Qassimi name forward. Samir was the spare, the one who didn't have to carry the weight of the family legacy, the one who could travel, spend, indulge, and live without the same scrutiny. But that freedom came with its own kind of pressure. Samir grew up in a palace-like compound in Dubai's most exclusive neighborhood. Marble floors, chandeliers imported from Italy, drivers, housekeepers, private tutors. He attended the best schools, first in Dubai, then boarding school in Switzerland, then university in London, where he studied business and spent most of his time at nightclubs and private parties hosted by other rich kids who would never need to work a real job. He was handsome in the way wealthy men often are, good genes sharpened by expensive grooming, tailored suits, a watch collection worth more than most people's homes, hair always perfectly styled, a smile that could charm investors, seduce women, and hide the insecurity that gnawed at him in private. Because underneath the wealth and confidence, Samir struggled with something he would never admit out loud. He was terrified of being ordinary. In his family, in his circle, money wasn't impressive. Everyone had money. Power was measured differently, by influence, by legacy, by the respect you commanded when you walked into a room. Faisal had that. Samir didn't. Faisal was invited to sit at the table during important meetings. Samir was sent to represent the family at events that didn't really matter. Faisal's name appeared in business journals. Samir's name appeared in tabloid gossip columns, often next to a different woman every few months. By his mid-30s, Samir had developed a reputation. Playboy. Party guy. The son who spent family money, but didn't build anything of his own. He hated that reputation, even as he fed into it. He told himself he was living freely, that he wasn't bound by his family's old-fashioned expectations, that he could choose his own path. But deep down, he knew what people said about him. And it stung. Samir's relationships with women followed a pattern. He met them at clubs, through mutual friends, on yachts, at private parties in places like Monaco, Ibiza, and Mykonos. Models, influencers, actresses, women who were beautiful and ambitious, and willing to be seen with a man who could afford to take them anywhere. The relationships were always short. A few weeks, maybe a couple of months. Expensive dinners. Luxury trips. Designer gifts. Instagram photos that made it look like a fairy tale. And then inevitably it would end. Sometimes because Samir got bored. Sometimes because the woman realized he was more interested in how she looked beside him than who she actually was. Sometimes because his family would quietly remind him that these women, foreign, non-Muslim, career-focused, were fine for fun but not for marriage. In his culture, marriage was strategic. It was about family alliances, shared values, reputation. His mother had been hinting for years that it was time for him to settle down, to find a suitable Emirati woman from a good family, and start producing heirs. Samir resisted. He told himself he wasn't ready, that he still had time. What he didn't say, what he could barely admit even to himself, was that he was afraid. Afraid of commitment. Afraid of being tied down. Afraid that marriage would turn him into another version of his brother, living a life that looked successful but felt suffocating. So he kept dating women who could never become permanent. Women he could control. Women who depended on his money, his connections, his approval. Women like Rebecca Torres. Samir first saw Rebecca's Instagram profile in late September 2024. He was scrolling through his phone late at night, restless and bored, clicking through suggested accounts the algorithm fed him. Models, influencers, travel bloggers. He'd done this before. Sometimes he'd DM women directly. Sometimes he'd have his assistant reach out with business opportunities that were really just invitations to visit Dubai and spend time with him. When Rebecca's profile appeared, he stopped scrolling. She wasn't famous. She didn't have millions of followers. But there was something about her, an aspirational energy, a hunger he recognized. Her captions talked about dreams and gratitude and manifesting success. Her photos were carefully curated, but not overly polished. She looked like someone trying to make it, someone who wanted more than what she had. Someone who could be impressed. Samir clicked through her posts. Beach shots. Rooftop selfies. Photos from low-budget shoots that tried to look high-end. He could see the effort, the ambition, the desperation underneath the smiles. He knew that kind of woman. He'd dated versions of her before. They were easy to bring into his world. Easy to wow with money and luxury. Easy to make dependent. And when things ended, they usually left quietly, grateful for the experience, unwilling to make waves that might damage their own fragile reputations. He sent her profile to his assistant, Layla, with a simple instruction. Reach out. Offer her a campaign. Bring her to Dubai. Layla had done this before. She managed Samir's public image, handled his social media accounts, and occasionally helped him orchestrate situations that gave him plausible deniability. She ran the @Luxury Lifestyle DXB account, which was technically real. They did occasionally post luxury content, but mostly existed as a front for Samir's personal interests. Layla drafted the message. Professional. Vague enough to sound legitimate. Generous enough to be irresistible. She sent it, and Rebecca responded exactly the way Samir knew she would. When Rebecca's signed contract came back, Samir felt a familiar thrill. The kind he always felt at the beginning, when a woman said yes, when the game was still new and he hadn't yet gotten bored. He told himself this wasn't manipulation. He was offering her a real opportunity. $15,000, a luxury trip, professional photos she could use for her portfolio. If things went well, maybe he'd even connect her with real brands, help her build her career. And if she was open to more than just work, if she wanted to spend private time with him, enjoy the lifestyle he could offer, then that was her choice. Adults making adult decisions. He didn't think of it as deception. He thought of it as opportunity wrapped in attraction. Over the next 2 weeks, Samir prepared. He booked the penthouse suite at the Burj Al Noor, one of Dubai's most exclusive hotels, known for its private pools on every floor, its Michelin-star restaurants, and its discretion. He arranged for flowers to be waiting in her room. Champagne. A welcome note signed simply S. He instructed Layla to keep communication minimal. Just logistics. Flight details. Arrival instructions. No personal messages until Rebecca landed. He wanted the first impression to be overwhelming. He wanted her to step into his world and feel like she'd crossed into a dream. On October 31st, the night before Rebecca's flight, Samir sat in his private office, whiskey in hand, scrolling through her Instagram one more time. He paused on a recent post, a photo of her at the beach, wind in her hair, eyes closed, smiling like she didn't have a care in the world. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to trust the universe and take the leap." Samir smiled. She had no idea what she was walking into. Rebecca's plane touched down at Dubai International Airport at 7:15 a.m. on November 1st, 2024. She hadn't slept much during the flight. Too excited. Too nervous. She'd spent most of the 15 hours staring out the window, watching clouds drift below, imagining what the next 4 days would bring. When the plane taxied to the gate and passengers started gathering their bags, Rebecca pulled out her phone and turned off airplane mode. Messages flooded in, Vanessa checking in, her mom asking if she'd landed safely, Instagram notifications from friends commenting on her airport post. She typed quick responses. Landed. Everything's fine. I'll call later. She grabbed her carry-on, smoothed down her travel outfit, a sleek black jumpsuit she'd bought specifically for this moment, and followed the crowd toward customs. Dubai International was massive. Glass and steel and polished floors that seemed to stretch forever. Duty-free shops selling perfume and watches and gold. Travelers from every corner of the world moving through the terminal in expensive clothes and quiet confidence. Rebecca felt small. Out of place. But also thrilled. She cleared customs without issue, collected her checked bag, and walked into the arrivals hall, scanning the crowd for whoever was supposed to meet her. A man in a black suit and sunglasses held a sign with her name printed in clean, bold letters, Rebecca Torres. She walked over, suddenly self-conscious. "Hi, I'm Rebecca." The man nodded, professional and silent, and gestured for her to follow. He took her suitcase without a word, led her through the terminal and out into the blinding morning heat. A black Mercedes SUV with tinted windows was waiting at the curb. The driver opened the back door. Rebecca slid inside, sinking into leather seats that were cool and soft. Bottled water sat in the cup holder. A small box of pastries on the seat beside her. The car smelled faintly of expensive cologne. As they pulled away from the airport, Rebecca stared out the window, taking it all in. Dubai was nothing like Miami. The highways were impossibly wide and smooth. Skyscrapers stretched toward the sky like something out of a sci-fi movie. Luxury cars zipped past, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Bentleys. Billboards advertised watches, perfume, real estate developments with prices she couldn't even comprehend. Everything gleamed. Everything looked new. It felt like stepping into a different world, one where money flowed so freely that no one even thought about it anymore. Rebecca pulled out her phone and started recording. Short clips for Instagram, snippets of the highway, the skyline, the car's interior. She typed a caption in her head. Day 1 in Dubai and I'm already speechless. After about 30 minutes, the car pulled up to the Burj Al Noor. It was stunning. A gleaming tower of glass and gold, rising 60 floors into the bright blue sky. Fountains danced in front of the entrance. Uniformed valets moved with quiet efficiency. A red carpet stretched from the curb to the lobby doors. Rebecca stepped out of the car, and for a moment, she just stood there, staring up at the building. The driver handed her suitcase to a hotel porter, said something in Arabic, and drove away. A woman in a sharp blazer approached, smiling warmly. Miss Torres. Yes. Welcome to the Burj Al Noor. We've been expecting you. Please follow me. The lobby was breathtaking. White marble floors. Towering ceilings. A chandelier that looked like it weighed more than a car. Soft music played from hidden speakers. Everything smelled clean and expensive, jasmine and sandalwood, and something else she couldn't name. Rebecca followed the woman to a private elevator. No buttons. Just a keycard swipe that sent them gliding upward in silence. When the doors opened, they stepped directly into a suite. Not a hallway. Not a room with a door. A suite that took up an entire floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. A massive living area with cream-colored couches, a dining table that could seat 10, a full kitchen with gleaming countertops. To the left, double doors opened into a bedroom with a bed the size of her entire apartment back home. And straight ahead, through sliding glass doors, was a private pool. Infinity Edge. Overlooking Dubai's skyline. Rebecca stood frozen in the doorway, her heart pounding. This is for me? The woman smiled. Yes, Miss Torres. Your accommodations for the duration of your stay. If you need anything at all, please use the phone by the bed. We're here to make your visit as comfortable as possible. She handed Rebecca a key card and a small envelope. This is from your host. Enjoy your stay. And then she left. Rebecca stood alone in the suite, staring at the space around her. She set down her bag, walked slowly toward the windows, and pressed her palms against the glass. The city stretched out below her, endless and shimmering in the desert sun. She pulled out her phone and took a photo. Then another. Then a video, spinning slowly to capture the entire room. Then she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note on thick, expensive stationery. Rebecca, welcome to Dubai. I hope your journey was comfortable. Rest, explore, enjoy. I look forward to meeting you this evening. Dinner at 8 p.m. A car will collect you at 7:45. Beneath the note were 5 crisp 500 dirham bills, about $1,400. The message was simple. For anything you might need. Rebecca sat down on the edge of the couch, staring at the money in her hand. This was real. This was happening. She felt a rush of validation, excitement, disbelief. All those years of struggling, of being told she wasn't good enough, of watching other girls get opportunities she never did. It was all worth it. This moment, this suite, this city proved she was right to keep trying. She texted Vanessa. V, you won't believe this room. It's insane. Sending pics. Then she texted her mom. Landed safe. Everything's amazing. Love you. Then she posted to Instagram. A photo of the skyline from her window, no caption yet. Just the image. Let them wonder. For the rest of the afternoon, Rebecca unpacked, showered, ordered room service, lobster, champagne, dessert that tasted like it cost more than her rent, and tried on 3 different outfits for dinner. She settled on a simple black dress. Elegant but not trying too hard. Heels. Minimal jewelry. Hair down, soft waves. At 7:45 p.m., her phone buzzed. Your car is waiting downstairs. Rebecca took one last look in the mirror, grabbed her clutch, and stepped into the elevator. Her heart was racing again. Nerves and excitement tangled together. She was about to meet S. She was about to step deeper into this beautiful, glittering trap. And she had no idea that in less than 48 hours she'd be dead. Before we go further, if this story is pulling you in, if you're feeling that tension building, do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button. This case only gets darker, and you don't want to miss what happens next. We're just scratching the surface. The restaurant was called Zahara, one of Dubai's most exclusive dining experiences, perched on the 55th floor of a building that looked like a sail made of glass and gold. Rebecca stepped out of the car and into a world that felt surreal. The entrance was subtle. No big sign, just a small gold plaque beside an unmarked door. A hostess in a floor-length gown greeted her by name. "Miss Torres. Welcome. Right this way." Inside, the restaurant was dim and intimate. Candlelit tables. Soft music, something jazzy and sensual. The walls were lined with dark wood and gold accents. Every detail whispered wealth. The hostess led Rebecca through the dining room, past tables where men in tailored suits sat across from women in couture dresses, past a bar where crystal glasses caught the light, and toward a private corner booth overlooking the city. And there he was, Sheikh Samir Al-Qassimi. He stood when he saw her approaching, and for a moment, Rebecca forgot to breathe. He was handsome. Not in the boyish, Instagram-perfect way. Handsome in the way men with money and confidence are, polished, self-assured, like he knew exactly how much power he held in a room. He wore a crisp white shirt, tailored perfectly to his frame. No tie. The top button undone, just enough to look effortless. A watch on his wrist that probably cost more than her entire year's rent. His dark hair was styled neatly, his beard trimmed close. His eyes, dark and intense, locked onto hers as she approached. He smiled. "Rebecca." His voice was smooth. Warm. The kind of voice that made you feel like you were the only person in the world. "Hi." Her voice came out quieter than she intended. "Please sit." He gestured to the booth, and she slid in across from him. The leather was soft. The view through the window was dizzying. The city spread out below, lights twinkling like stars. "You look beautiful," Samir said, his eyes moving over her in a way that felt both flattering and assessing. "Thank you." She felt herself blushing. "This place is incredible. I'm glad you like it. I wanted tonight to be special. A proper welcome." A waiter appeared, silent, efficient, and poured water into crystal glasses. Samir ordered wine without asking Rebecca what she wanted. Expensive. French. The kind of bottle where the waiter handles it like it's fragile. When the waiter left, Samir leaned forward slightly, resting his forearms on the table. "So, tell me about yourself, Rebecca." It was a simple question, but the way he asked it made it feel loaded. Like he genuinely wanted to know. Like her answer mattered. Rebecca hesitated, then launched into the version of her story she'd told 100 times. Grew up in Miami, always loved fashion and photography, worked hard to build her modeling career, grateful for every opportunity. Samir listened, nodding, asking questions that made her feel seen. "And your family? Are they supportive?" "My mom is. She worries, but she's always been there for me. My sister thinks I should get a normal job." Rebecca laughed nervously. "But I can't see myself doing the 9-to-5 thing, you know? I want more." Samir smiled. "I understand that. Wanting more. Refusing to settle." The wine arrived. He poured for both of them, lifted his glass. "To new beginnings." Rebecca clinked her glass against his, took a sip. It tasted expensive, smooth, rich, better than anything she'd ever had. They talked for the next hour. Samir told her about Dubai, about his family's business, about growing up in a world where money was never a concern, but expectations were always high. He was charming. Funny in a dry, clever way. He asked about her dreams, her goals, what she wanted to do next in her career. He made it feel like he was genuinely invested in her success. Dinner arrived. Plates of food Rebecca couldn't pronounce, each one more beautiful than the last. Samir encouraged her to try everything, explaining each dish like a guide showing her a new world. And slowly, subtly, he shifted the conversation. "You know," he said, setting down his fork, I think you have real potential. Not just as a model, but as a brand. You have a presence. A look that people respond to. Rebecca felt warmth spread through her chest. Thank you. That means a lot. I'd like to help you. Introduce you to the right people. Get you in front of brands that actually pay. You shouldn't have to struggle the way you have been. It sounded generous. It sounded like mentorship. But underneath, there was something else, something transactional. That would be amazing, Rebecca said. I've been trying so hard, and it feels like I keep hitting walls. You don't have to hit walls anymore, Samir said softly. Not if you're smart about who you align yourself with. The way he said align felt intentional, like it meant more than just business. Rebecca felt the shift, the warmth of the wine, the way Samir was looking at her, the quiet understanding that this dinner wasn't just about work. But she told herself it was fine. This was how things worked in this world. Connections, relationships, networking that blurred into something more personal. If she wanted to make it, she had to be willing to play the game. I appreciate that, she said carefully. I really do. Samir smiled. Good. Because I think we're going to work very well together. After dinner, Samir suggested they take a walk along the marina, a waterfront promenade lined with yachts and high-end restaurants and glittering towers. The night air was warm. The city hummed with life. Couples strolled past. Music drifted from open-air bars. Samir walked close to her, his hand occasionally brushing her lower back as they moved through the crowd. It felt protective, possessive. Rebecca wasn't sure how she felt about it, but she didn't pull away. They stopped near the water, leaning against a railing, looking out at the lights reflecting off the dark surface. I have to ask you something, Samir said, his voice quieter now. And I want you to be honest with me. Rebecca turned to face him. Okay, why did you really come here? The question caught her off guard. What do you mean? You had to know this wasn't just a standard modeling job. A private client. All expenses paid. $15,000 for 4 days. He tilted his head slightly, studying her. You're smart. You had to wonder what this was really about. Rebecca's heart was pounding. She didn't know what to say. Samir stepped closer. I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable. I just want to know if we're on the same page. Rebecca hesitated. I thought it was a legitimate campaign. That's what your assistant said. It is, Samir said smoothly. But it's also more than that. I'm not just looking for a model, Rebecca. I'm looking for someone who understands how this world works. Someone who's willing to be part of it. Not just take photos and leave. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was intimate. Too intimate. I like you, he said softly. I think you're special. And I think we could have something real here. But only if you want it. Rebecca felt frozen. Part of her wanted to step back, to say she wasn't interested in anything beyond the job. But another part of her, the part that was tired of struggling, that wanted the life he was offering, that was afraid of disappointing him and losing the opportunity, stayed silent. I don't want to pressure you, Samir continued. But I need to know you're here because you want to be. Not just for the money. Rebecca swallowed hard. I do want to be here. It wasn't entirely true. But it also wasn't entirely a lie. Samir smiled. Good. He leaned in and kissed her. It was soft at first. Testing. And when Rebecca didn't pull away, he deepened it, his hand sliding to the back of her neck. When they finally broke apart, Rebecca's mind was spinning. This wasn't what she'd expected. But it also wasn't entirely surprising. She'd been around long enough to know how these things went. Rich men didn't bring girls to Dubai just to take photos. There was always more. Always an unspoken expectation. And if she said no, if she pushed him away, she'd be on the next flight home with nothing. So she stayed quiet. And when Samir pulled her closer, she let him. Rebecca woke up the next morning, November 2nd, in her hotel suite alone. Samir had dropped her off around midnight. He'd kissed her goodnight at the elevator, told her to rest, said they'd spend the day together tomorrow. She'd gone to bed feeling, she didn't know what. Confused. Flattered. Uneasy. Now, in the bright morning light, she lay in the enormous bed staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of what was happening. She reached for her phone. 9:47 a.m. A few texts from Vanessa. How's it going? Send pics. Are you okay? You haven't posted anything since yesterday. Rebecca typed back quickly. All good. Just busy. Dubai is amazing. I'll call you later. She scrolled through Instagram. Her post from yesterday, the skyline from her window, had gotten over 500 likes. Comments from friends back home. Living the dream. You deserve this. So proud of you. She felt a pang of guilt. They had no idea what this trip really was. She barely knew herself. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Good morning, beautiful. I hope you slept well. I'd like to see you this afternoon. I'll send a car at 2 p.m. or something comfortable. We're going on an adventure. S. Rebecca stared at the message. She could say no. She could tell him she wasn't interested in anything beyond the original job. She could demand the $15,000 and go home. But what if he refused to pay her? What if he made things difficult? What if saying no meant losing everything? She typed back. Sounds good. See you then. The car picked her up at exactly 2 p.m. This time, Samir was inside. He was dressed casually, linen pants, a fitted t-shirt, designer sunglasses. He looked relaxed. Happy. Rebecca. He smiled as she slid in beside him. You look lovely. Thank you. She'd worn a sundress. Simple. Comfortable. I thought we'd spend the afternoon away from the city. Somewhere more private. The car drove for about 40 minutes, leaving the skyscrapers behind and heading into the desert. Eventually, they turned onto a private road that led to a massive estate. High walls. Security gates. Palm trees lining the driveway. This is my family's property, Samir explained. A place to escape when the city gets too loud. They pulled up to a sprawling villa. White stone, arched windows, a courtyard with a fountain. Inside, it was cool and quiet. Marble floors. Expensive furniture. Art on the walls that looked like it belonged in a museum. Make yourself comfortable, Samir said. I'll have lunch brought out by the pool. Rebecca followed him through the house and out to a terrace overlooking the desert. A pool stretched out in front of them, crystal blue against the golden sand. Lounge chairs. An outdoor dining table already set with food, fresh fruit, grilled seafood, salads, pastries. They ate and talked. Samir was charming again, asking her questions, making her laugh. But there was an edge to it now. A familiarity. A sense that he already considered her his. After lunch, he suggested they swim. Rebecca hesitated. She hadn't brought a swimsuit, but Samir waved it off. I have something you can wear. He led her to a guest room where a selection of designer swimsuits was laid out on the bed. All brand new. Tags still on. Different sizes. Rebecca felt a chill run down her spine. How many women had been here before her? She chose a simple black one-piece, changed in the bathroom, and walked back out to the pool. Samir was already in the water, leaning against the edge, watching her approach. Beautiful, he said softly. Rebecca slipped into the pool, keeping distance between them. But Samir closed it quickly, swimming over to her, hands finding her waist. Relax, he murmured. You're too tense. I'm fine, Rebecca said, but her voice was tight. Are you? Samir's eyes searched hers. Because you seem distant. Like you're not really here. I'm just taking it all in. Good. He pulled her closer. Because I want you here. With me. Not just for a few days. I think we could have something real, Rebecca. If you let yourself feel it. His hands moved up her back. His lips brushed her neck. Rebecca froze. This was moving too fast. Too far. She thought she could manage this. Play along, take the money, leave. But now, standing in his arms, she realized she'd lost control of the situation. Samir, Sure. He kissed her, cutting off whatever she was about to say. And Rebecca, terrified of what would happen if she pushed him away, let it happen. Later that evening, back at the hotel, Rebecca locked herself in the bathroom and cried. She felt trapped. Stupid. like she'd walked into something she should have seen coming. She pulled out her phone and called Vanessa. Becca. Finally. I've been worried sick. I think I made a mistake. Vanessa's voice shifted immediately. What's wrong? What happened? It's not what I thought it would be. The job. He wants more. And I don't know how to get out of it. Who's he? The client. Rebecca nodded, even though Vanessa couldn't see her. Yeah. I don't know. He's been nice, but it feels like I don't have a choice. Like if I say no, everything falls apart. Becca, listen to me. If you don't feel safe, you leave. Right now. Book a flight. Get out of there. I can't. I signed a contract. And he hasn't paid me yet. If I leave, I get nothing. I'll have wasted the whole trip. Who cares about the money? If something feels wrong, you go. Please. Rebecca wiped her eyes. I'll be okay. I just needed to hear your voice. Becca. I have to go. I'll call you tomorrow. I promise. She hung up before Vanessa could argue. She stared at herself in the bathroom mirror, red eyes, smudged mascara, a face that looked smaller and younger than it had just 2 days ago. She told herself she just had to make it through 2 more days. 2 more days and she'd have the money. 2 more days and she'd be home. She had no idea she wouldn't make it that long. If you're still here, we need you to stay. What comes next is the part most people don't want to hear, but it's the part that matters most. Hit like if you're feeling this. And subscribe if you want the full truth, not just the headlines. November 3rd, 2024. The final day. Rebecca woke up at 6:30 a.m., disoriented and exhausted. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she felt Samir's hands on her, heard his voice telling her to relax, felt the weight of expectation pressing down on her chest. She reached for her phone. A message was waiting. Good morning. We need to talk. Meet me for breakfast. I'll send a car at 9. No warmth this time. No beautiful. Just an instruction. Rebecca felt dread settle in her stomach. She showered, dressed, tried to make herself look put together even though she felt like she was falling apart. The car arrived. Samir wasn't inside this time. Just the silent driver. They drove to a private cafe, small, exclusive, tucked away from the main tourist areas. Samir was already seated when she arrived, coffee in front of him, jaw tight. Sit, he said. Rebecca sat. For a long moment, he didn't speak. He just looked at her, eyes hard and unreadable. I did some checking, he said finally. After you arrived. Rebecca's heart stopped. What do you mean? Background. Social media. The usual. He leaned forward. And I found something interesting. He pulled out his phone, scrolled, turned the screen toward her. It was an old photo. From years ago. Rebecca at a party in Los Angeles, dressed in something revealing, standing next to a man she barely remembered. The caption was gone, but the image was still there, buried deep in someone else's tagged photos. Who is this? Samir asked, his voice dangerously calm. Rebecca's throat was dry. That was years ago. A party. I don't even know that guy. You don't know him. Samir's voice dripped with disbelief. But you're standing very close to him. And you're dressed like... He trailed off, shaking his head. I brought you here thinking you were different. Classy. Someone I could trust. I am, Rebecca said desperately. That was just a stupid party. It doesn't mean anything. It means you lied to me. I didn't lie. You let me believe you were someone you're not. His voice rose slightly, drawing the attention of a waiter nearby. Samir lowered it again, but the anger was still there, simmering. Do you know what that does to me? To my reputation? If people found out I brought someone like you into my world. Rebecca felt tears prick her eyes. I'm not someone like that. I'm just what? A girl who posts half-naked photos online and pretends to be respectable when it suits her. His words cut deep. Rebecca felt herself shrinking, the shame flooding in. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to. Sorry doesn't fix this. Samir sat back, rubbing his temples like she'd given him a headache. I need to think about what to do. Please, Rebecca said, her voice breaking. I just want to go home. Give me my payment and I'll leave. I won't say anything. I promise. Samir looked at her coldly. You think you deserve to be paid after this? I did everything you asked. You deceived me. He stood abruptly, throwing cash on the table. Go back to the hotel. Stay there. I'll decide what happens next. And then he walked out, leaving Rebecca sitting alone in the cafe, trembling and humiliated. Back at the hotel, Rebecca locked herself in the suite and broke down. She called Vanessa, sobbing so hard she could barely get words out. Becca, what happened? He knows. He found old photos. He's furious. He says I lied. I don't know what to do. Okay, listen to me. You need to leave. Right now. Pack your stuff and get to the airport. I can't. He hasn't paid me. And I don't have money for a flight home. I used everything I had just to prepare for this trip. Then call the embassy. Call someone. You can't stay there. He told me to stay at the hotel. What if he? Becca, listen. If he's that angry, you're not safe. Please. Just get out. Rebecca wiped her face, trying to breathe. Okay. I'll figure something out. She hung up and stared at her suitcase. She could pack. She could try to book a flight on credit. She could. Her phone buzzed. A message from Samir. I'm sorry. I overreacted. Let's talk tonight. Dinner at the hotel. 8 p.m. I'll make this right. I promise. Rebecca stared at the message. She didn't believe him. But what choice did she have? If she ran, she'd leave with nothing. If she stayed, maybe he'd calm down. Maybe he'd pay her and let her go. She typed back. Okay. At 7:30 p.m., Rebecca stood in front of the mirror in her suite, dressed in the same black dress from the first night. She looked tired. Pale. Her hands were shaking as she tried to apply lipstick. Her phone buzzed. Change of plans. Come up to the rooftop pool. More private. I'll meet you there. Rebecca hesitated. The rooftop pool was on the 42nd floor. Completely secluded. No other guests allowed after 10 p.m. But it was only 7:30. There would still be staff around. It would be fine. She grabbed her phone and room key and took the elevator up. When the doors opened, the rooftop was quiet. Dim lights. The pool glowing blue. City lights stretching out in every direction. No staff. No Samir. Rebecca stepped out, her heels clicking on the stone tiles. Hello. No answer. She walked toward the pool, scanning the area. And then she heard footsteps behind her. She turned. Samir stood there, face unreadable in the shadows. Hi, Rebecca said, trying to sound calm. I got your message. I know. He walked closer. I wanted to talk somewhere private. Okay. She forced a smile. I'm glad we're doing this. I really am sorry about earlier. Stop. His voice was cold. You don't get to apologize your way out of this. Rebecca's heart started pounding. Samir, please. You made me look like a fool. I didn't mean to. You lied to me. You came here pretending to be something you're not. And you thought I wouldn't find out. I wasn't pretending. Yes, you were. He stepped closer. And now I have to decide what to do about it. Rebecca backed up. Her heel hit the edge of the pool. Please, she whispered. I'll leave. I'll go home. I won't tell anyone anything. Samir stared at her for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Too late for that. And what happened next, what those final moments looked like, may never be fully known. Because at 3:58 a.m., Samir sent a text to someone. At 4:47 a.m., hotel security found Rebecca Torres floating face down in the rooftop pool. And by the time investigators arrived, Samir was gone. Dubai Metropolitan Police received the call at 4:52 a.m. on November 3, 2024. We have a body in the rooftop pool. Female. Non-responsive. Security has secured the area. Detective Amir Hassan arrived at the Burj Al Noor within 20 minutes, flanked by a forensic team and 2 junior officers. The rooftop was already taped off. Hotel security stood near the elevators, pale and shaken. A few staff members lingered nearby, whispering in Arabic. Hassan walked to the edge of the pool. Rebecca Torres lay on the tile now, pulled from the water by paramedics who had arrived minutes before. Her black dress clung to her body. Her hair was plastered to her face. Her skin was pale, lips tinged blue. One of the paramedics looked up at Hassan and shook his head. She's gone. Probably been dead for at least an hour. Maybe more. Hassan crouched beside the body, studying her carefully. No visible wounds. No signs of a struggle. No bruises on her wrists, no defensive marks on her hands. Her dress was intact. Her heels were still on. But something felt wrong. Where were the security cameras? Hassan asked, standing. One of the hotel managers stepped forward, nervous. The rooftop pool is a private area, detective. We don't have cameras up here. It's for guest privacy. Hassan's jaw tightened. Convenient. He turned to his team. I want her phone, her belongings, and every piece of security footage from the last 48 hours. I want to know everyone who came in and out of this hotel. And I want to know who she was with. Within an hour, they had Rebecca's phone. It had been sitting on a lounge chair near the pool, still unlocked. The last thing open was a text thread with a contact saved simply as S. Hassan scrolled through the messages. The early ones were polite, professional. But as the days went on, they became more personal, more possessive. The final message, sent at 3:58 a.m., was from Samir to Rebecca. I trusted you. Why would you lie to me? Hassan stared at the message for a long moment. Then he asked the question that would shape the entire investigation. Who is S? It didn't take long to get an answer. Hotel records showed that the suite Rebecca stayed in was booked under the name Sheikh Samir Al-Qassimi. The charges, flights, accommodations, everything, were billed to his personal account. When Hassan ran Samir's name through the system, red flags appeared immediately. Samir Al-Qassimi, age 38, prominent family, significant wealth, no criminal record, but multiple complaints filed over the years, harassment allegations from former girlfriends, financial disputes, accusations of controlling behavior. All of them quietly settled before they reached court. Hassan made a call. I need to bring in Sheikh Samir Al-Qassimi for questioning. Now. But when officers went to Samir's residence that morning, he wasn't there. His family's lawyer appeared instead, calm and prepared, carrying a statement typed on official letterhead. Sheikh Al-Qassimi is cooperating fully with the investigation. He is currently traveling on business, but will make himself available for questioning upon his return. In the meantime, we want to make it clear that he had no involvement in Miss Torres's tragic death. She was a guest he had invited for professional purposes. Her death is a terrible accident, and the family extends their deepest condolences. Hassan read the statement and felt his anger rise. Where is he? That information is confidential for security reasons. This is a potential homicide investigation. With all due respect, detective, you have no evidence of foul play. A young woman drowned in a pool. It's a tragedy, but it's not a crime. Hassan leaned forward. Then why did he leave the country? The lawyer didn't blink. He didn't leave because of this. He had prior commitments. Business obligations. Convenient timing. Coincidence. Hassan knew he was being stonewalled. Men like Samir didn't answer questions unless they had to. And in Dubai, wealth bought time, silence, and lawyers who knew exactly how to make problems disappear. The autopsy results came back 2 days later. Cause of death, drowning. No signs of physical trauma. No drugs in her system. No alcohol above a minimal level. But the medical examiner added a note. Drowning does not necessarily indicate accident. Victim could have been incapacitated, held under, or entered water in a state of extreme distress. Further investigation required. Hassan read it twice. Drowning. But not necessarily an accident. He reviewed the timeline again. Rebecca arrived on November 1st, dinner with Samir that night. Spent the next day with him at his private estate. The morning of November 3rd, they met for breakfast. Witnesses reported seeing them argue. Samir left abruptly. That evening, he texted her to meet him at the rooftop pool. Hours later, she was dead. Hassan pulled up Samir's phone records. He had made a call at 11:47 p.m. on November 2nd, the night before Rebecca died. The call lasted 6 minutes. It was to a private number registered to a security company Samir's family had used before. Hassan made a note. Possible third-party involvement? He also pulled Rebecca's social media. Her last Instagram post was from November 1st, the skyline from her hotel window. After that, nothing. But her private messages told a different story. She'd texted her friend Vanessa multiple times over those 2 days, each message sounding more distressed than the last. I think I made a mistake. He's not who I thought he was. I just want to go home. Hassan felt a knot form in his stomach. This wasn't a woman who accidentally drowned after a night of partying. This was a woman who felt trapped. On November 6th, 3 days after Rebecca's death, Samir finally returned to Dubai. He arrived at the police station with his lawyer, dressed in an expensive suit, calm and composed. Hassan met them in an interrogation room. Sheikh Al-Qassimi, thank you for coming in. Of course. Samir sat, folding his hands on the table. I want to help however I can. Rebecca's death is a tragedy. Hassan opened a file. You were the last person to see her alive. I don't know if that's true. I saw her earlier that evening, but I left before anything happened. You texted her at 3:58 a.m. Samir didn't flinch. Yes. I was concerned. We'd had a disagreement earlier, and I wanted to check on her. What was the disagreement about? Samir paused, choosing his words carefully. I discovered some things about her past that she hadn't been honest about. It upset me. I needed space. So you left her alone at the hotel? Yes. And then texted her hours later asking why she lied to you. I was emotional. I regret how I handled it. Hassan leaned forward. Where were you between midnight and 5 a.m. on November 3rd? At my residence. Alone. Can anyone confirm that? I live alone. So no. Hassan let that sit for a moment. Why did you invite Rebecca to Dubai? For a modeling campaign. I thought she had potential. And your relationship with her was strictly professional? Samir hesitated. At first, yes. But things developed. Into what? A connection. Nothing inappropriate. She was a guest. I treated her well. Hassan pulled out a printed copy of their text thread. You told her you wanted something real with her. That you saw a future. That she needed to align herself with you. Samir's jaw tightened. I cared about her. Is that a crime? It is if caring about her led to her death. I didn't kill her. Samir's voice was firm. I wasn't even there. Then who was? Silence. Hassan stared at him. Samir stared back. Finally, the lawyer spoke. Unless you have evidence linking my client to this tragedy, we're done here. Hassan wanted to push harder. But he knew the truth. Without witnesses, without cameras, without physical evidence, he had nothing. Samir stood, straightened his suit, and walked out. And Hassan knew, deep in his gut, that the man who just left that room was guilty. But proving it would be nearly impossible. Rebecca Torres's body was returned to Miami on November 10th, 2024. Her mother, Rosa, stood at the airport cargo area with Camila beside her, watching as the casket was unloaded from the plane. Rosa had aged 10 years in a week. Her face was hollow. Her hands trembled as she signed the paperwork that would release her daughter's body into her care. Camila held her mother upright, tears streaming down her own face. We're bringing her home, Mommy, she whispered. We're bringing her home. The funeral was held 3 days later at a small church in Hialeah. The same church where Rebecca had been baptized as a baby, where she'd celebrated her quinceañera, where Rosa had prayed every Sunday for her daughter's safety. The pews were full. Friends from high school, old co-workers, neighbors, people who had watched Rebecca grow up, who had seen her dream big, who had believed she would make it. Vanessa sat in the front row, sobbing into her hands. She kept replaying their last conversation, Rebecca's voice breaking, saying, I think I made a mistake, and wishing she had done more. Wished she had flown to Dubai herself. Wished she had called the embassy. Wished she had saved her best friend. But wishes don't bring people back. Rosa stood at the podium during the service, her voice steady despite the tears. "My daughter wanted to be someone," she said quietly. "She wanted to prove that she was special, that she mattered. And she was. She did matter. Not because of how she looked or who she knew or how many people followed her online. She mattered because she was kind, because she loved her family, because she tried so hard, even when the world told her she wasn't enough." Her voice cracked. Rebecca didn't die in an accident. She died because someone made her feel like she had to choose between her safety and her dreams. And that choice killed her. The church was silent except for the sound of people crying. Rosa looked out at the faces staring back at her. Don't let her death be for nothing. If you know someone chasing a dream that feels too good to be true, tell them to be careful. Tell them their life is worth more than money or fame or the approval of strangers. Tell them to come home. Back in Dubai, the investigation stalled. Detective Hassan pushed as hard as he could. He interviewed hotel staff. He reviewed every piece of footage from the lobby, the elevators, the parking garage. He tracked down the security company Samir had called the night before Rebecca died. But every lead hit a wall. The hotel staff saw nothing. The footage showed Rebecca entering the rooftop alone. The security company had no record of being dispatched that night. And Samir? He stayed silent, protected by lawyers and family money. On December 1st, the case was officially classified as accidental drowning. No charges filed. No trial. No justice. Hassan sat in his office, staring at Rebecca's file, knowing he'd failed her. He thought about calling Rosa, about telling her the truth, that he believed Samir killed her daughter. But that belief wasn't enough to convict a man with that much power. He never made the call. Some cases don't get solved. Some killers walk free. Some families never get answers. This was one of them. On Instagram, Rebecca's account stayed active. Friends and strangers left comments under her last post, the skyline photo from her hotel window. "Rest in peace, beautiful. You deserved so much better. I hope you found peace wherever you are." Vanessa kept the account up for months, unable to let go of the last piece of her best friend that still existed in the world. But eventually, even that faded. The comments slowed. The likes stopped. The algorithm moved on. Rebecca Torres became another cautionary tale. Another headline. Another young woman who wanted more and paid for it with her life. And Sheikh Samir Al-Qassimi? He returned to his life. Traveled. Partied. Posted photos from yachts and private jets. Moved on like nothing had happened. Because for him, nothing had. Just another girl. Another mistake. Another secret buried under money and silence. Even now, months later, the case of Rebecca Torres leaves more questions than answers. Who sent that final text at 3:58 a.m.? Was it really Samir? Or did someone else have access to his phone? The message, "I trusted you. Why would you lie to me?" sounds like something said in anger. But it could also be something crafted to sound that way. To create a narrative. To shift blame. Was Rebecca alone on that rooftop? The hotel insists no one else was seen entering or leaving. But the lack of cameras means there's no proof. Could Samir have used a service entrance? Could someone else have been there, hired, paid, instructed to make sure she didn't leave Dubai alive? Why was there no struggle? If Rebecca was pushed, held under, or incapacitated, there would be signs. But the autopsy showed nothing. Some investigators theorize she may have been in shock, emotionally broken, exhausted, possibly drugged with something that left her system before testing. Others believe she may have been threatened, told that resisting would only make things worse. And the biggest question, was this murder? Or did Rebecca Torres, overwhelmed and trapped, make a choice no one wants to name? Some believe she took her own life. That the pressure, the fear, the realization that she'd walked into something she couldn't escape became too much. That she stepped into that water knowing she wouldn't come out. Others, her family, her friends, Detective Hassan, believe she was killed. That Samir, furious and humiliated, decided she knew too much. Saw too much. That her existence, her potential testimony, her ability to ruin his reputation, made her a liability. The truth? We may never know. But here's what we do know. Rebecca Torres was 27 years old. She was talented, ambitious, and desperate to prove herself in a world that constantly told her she wasn't good enough. She took a risk. She accepted an offer that seemed too good to be true. And she paid for it with her life. Sheikh Samir Al-Qassimi faced no consequences. He remains free, wealthy, untouchable. And somewhere out there, another young woman is scrolling through Instagram, looking at photos of luxury hotels and rooftop pools, dreaming of a better life. Maybe she'll get a message, a DM from an account that looks professional, an offer that sounds perfect. And she'll have to decide, is this my chance? Or is this how my story ends? If this case made you angry, sad, or afraid, good. That means you're paying attention. Before you click away, do 3 things. 1. Like this video. It tells YouTube this story matters. 2. Subscribe. Because we're not done telling stories like Rebecca's. 3. Share this. With your sister, your friend, anyone chasing a dream. Because the next Rebecca Torres might be someone you know. And most importantly, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. No opportunity is worth your life. Rosa Torres never stopped fighting for answers. She hired a private investigator. She contacted journalists. She tried to sue Samir in civil court. Every effort was blocked by legal teams, paperwork, and jurisdictional red tape. She still lights a candle for Rebecca every Sunday at church. Vanessa deleted Instagram. She couldn't look at it anymore without thinking of her best friend. She became an advocate for online safety, speaking at schools about the dangers of accepting offers from strangers. Detective Hassan retired in 2025. Rebecca's case haunted him until his last day on the job. He keeps her file in a box at home, hoping someday new evidence will surface. Samir Al-Qassimi was last seen in Monaco in May 2025, attending a charity gala. He posted a photo on Instagram with the caption, "Grateful for every blessing." And Rebecca? She rests in a cemetery in Hialeah, Florida. Her headstone reads, Rebecca Maria Torres, 1997 to 2024. Beloved daughter, sister, friend. Gone too soon. Her story didn't end the way she hoped. But maybe, just maybe, telling it will save someone else.